Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today we are going to be talking about 7 different loose powders that I've been trying on my dry, dehydrated skin, including wear tests. So just to see how they sort of pair up, because all of these people on YouTube are raving about loose powders, and if you have dry or dehydrated skin, I don't know about you, but my experience in general is that it can make me look quite like lifeless and crepey and makeup-y, and then it can just look a little bit much on. And this is a video that I've been trying to do for more than a year, but it took some time for me to buy all of the products and to make sure that I was able to test it all out. I shot some clips where I apply each one of these and also like a before and after, so that you can see what the video how the powder wore after 8 hours of wear. So that is what we will be doing in this video, so let's just get to it. So before we get to the actual powders, I do want to point out that apart from an 8-hour wear test for each one of these, I also made sure that my base and also the conditions of the day where I was wearing the powders were roughly similar, which is why I wanted to film this video over the summertime, because I knew I would have the most sort of time to sort of really give them an equal chance. Because on most of my work days, like sometimes I teach a lot, sometimes I don't, sometimes I work out, sometimes I don't. So it would just not make a whole lot of sense, and I just feel that depending on the activities I would do in a day, that it would also influence how the makeup wore. So that's why I decided to try and control as many variables that I could. And one of the variables I could of course control very easily was the makeup that I paired with these powders. I think that if you want to see how one particular product wears, you definitely need to make sure that you use it with the same products. So I use the same other base products with each one of these. So I use the Catrice Tensational primer with this. This is quite a nice primer. And then I went in with foundation, and for all of these videos I'm wearing the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Water Fresh makeup. I'm wearing this in the shade 1N0 Porcelain, which is one of the lighter shades, I believe. And I feel that this is a really nice shade match, and this is a very nice sort of lightweight base that still wears really well. And then I was using a concealer, of course. This is the Essence Stay All Day 16-hour concealer. This is a really lightweight, like the foundation, lightweight as well. A lightweight concealer that does wear really well, and this is quite hydrating too. So these products work really well on my dry skin, so that I knew that if I was using these powders, it would nicely show what the powder actually did. And I set my base every single time with the Catrice Prime and Fine Multi-Talent Fixing Spray. So those were the other products that I used in conjunction with these different powders. And of course, I also had to apply the powder. But I'm using these 2 brushes to apply powder. I like to do what I call a half bake when I wear a loose powder. Because I have dry skin, I can't bake because that just, it looks crazy, let's just be honest. But I like to go in with a flat top kabuki brush like this one. This is the Sigma F80. And I just like to like dab the brush into the powder, usually in the cap, and then I just like dab it onto where I want it to go. And then once I've done that, I go straight in with the Sigma F25. This is the tapered face brush. This is my favorite powder brush. And then I use it to sort of whisk off the excess, you could say, so that there's nothing there to really make it dry and cakey looking. So that is what I was using with these 7 powders. And let's just go into these 7 powders. And I'm going to start with my least favorite and work all the way to the top to my favorite, because I think that's the easiest way to organize this. So the first powder that I wanted to feature here that I liked the least was the Maybelline Fit Me powder. This is one, of course, that a lot of people are raving about. I have mine in Fair Clair, and I bought it off of Amazon. This is a powder that is, as far as I know, not for sale in Europe. You can only get this in the US or Amazon, I found out. I bought this at the time for $6.34, making it one of the cheapest powders in this entire selection that I have here. And it comes with 29.9 grams of product, which is quite a bit, but I found that it didn't wear really well on me. I thought it looked pretty dry and cakey off the bat, and then as it wore, I just felt it really sort of like clumped my makeup together in certain places, especially around here, in between my brows and also around my nose. It really sort of made my makeup look very cakey and not that flattering. Plus it didn't do much to keep any oils at bay, which is why I wanted to try these powders in the summertime, because I have dry combo skin, you could say. So I do get a little bit of oil on my T-zone and my nose and my chin, but mostly in the summertime, which is when I would reach for a loose powder to begin with. So this Fit Me powder just really didn't do a whole lot. Maybe this can work for me in the wintertime, who knows? Maybe it's better for that time of the year, but that's not when I typically reach for this kind of powder. In the number 6 spot, so that was number 7, the Maybelline one. In the number 6 spot, I have the Laura Mercier, what's this called again? The translucent powder. That's just translucent loose setting powder. And I think that if you're on YouTube, then you see a lot of people raving about this all the time, how much they love it. I bought this in the mini, so it does come in a travel size and a regular size. The regular size is 29 grams of product, so as much almost as you get in the Maybelline, but it does retail for 43 euros, which I thought was a bit much, so I went with the smaller version, which retails for 24 euros, but you only get 9.3 grams of product, which really, to be quite honest, that is not even half of what you get in the full size, but you do pay almost as much. So buying 2 of these is more expensive in the end than buying a full size. But since I was trying out 7 different powders and not being sure whether I like it, and it being quite expensive, I was just really happy that I could get this in a travel size as well. So if you are interested in trying this, I would definitely recommend first getting the travel size to see if you like it. The reason why this is in the number 6 spot for me is if you compare the clips, again, this didn't do a whole lot to not make me look very shiny throughout the day. It's less oily and cakey looking than the Maybelline by far. Every single powder that is still coming up, including this one, really did a nice job of not looking cakey and very dry and really accentuating all of my lines and all of that. I felt that all of these other powders didn't have the effect that the Maybelline had for me. But the Laura Mercier one, I think it looked glowy, but it looked like greasy glowy rather than healthy glowy at the end of the day. I felt it didn't do much again, so maybe again this is maybe better for the winter time for me, but it just didn't do a whole lot of what I would want a loose powder to do and when I would use a loose powder. I felt it definitely broke up a lot around my chin and around my nose. It didn't look cakey again, but you know, it still looked pretty okay. But for such an expensive powder, I definitely had expected more. Another very, very firm cult favorite is the Coty Airspun powder. This comes in different shades. This is the translucent one that I got, and this was again an Amazon purchase for this. I know you can get this for cheaper in the US, but I couldn't wait. So I bought this for $13.29 from a reseller on Amazon, as I mentioned. And this comes with a whopping 65 grams of product. It's not the most, which is why the next powder that's coming up is ranked just a little bit higher. And I have to say, I was very surprised by this. Apart from the smell, which I hate, it's very sort of old lady perfumey. I didn't like that. In terms of wear time and the way this looked at the end of the day, I was really, really happy with the effect. So this is definitely a powder that I have interest in using a lot more of because it looked really nice. There is one really big downside to this powder though. I'm not sure if you can see this because I've used it, of course, but it comes with the puff, and I keep the puff in there because when this also came, like, this is so messy to use. And also this like plastic insert in the top, I don't think you can see that, but it's all like bubbly and it's not flat, so it's almost, I was like, did I get an effective one? But apparently that's something that I've now seen other people deal with as well in their Airspuns. So it just feels very cheaply packaged, and it smells really cheap too to me. I like the effect, but I have used this several times outside of this video, and I do have to say that with this I have to be very careful that I don't over apply. The minute I apply too much of this, it looks really dry, cakey, and makeup-y. If I get the amount just right, you get the effect that you see in this video, which is something I was very happy about, because that means that I can make it work for me, but it does take a little bit more effort, and I have powders in here that take less effort. Moving on to number 4, and the only reason why this beats the Coty is because it is a little bit more affordable for how much product you get, and it doesn't have the weird smell. And that is the RCMA No Color Powder. Now this comes in atrocious packaging. Let's just mention it straight away. Everybody keeps saying this, and a lot of people who love this powder also decant it into a more practical way of using this. The way I've been using it is just to unscrew the cap completely and not use this little salt shaker at the top, and then just use the cap to apply the powder. So just pour something in there. But this is still, ooh, see, it's still very messy. This is very sort of like poof, goes everywhere sort of powder. I can see why people like this for setting their makeup. Like the Coty, I do have to be very careful with how much I apply. In this video, again, I nailed it. I got just the right amount, but I have also experienced this looking really dry and cakey on me if I use a little bit too much. This is almost like baking powder for your face. That's the only thing I can compare this to. And the reason why this beats the Coty is because this is just a little bit more expensive than the Coty. It's 14 euros, whereas the Coty I bought for 13.29. And this contains 85 grams of product, which is 20 grams more than the Coty. But with how like poof powdery this is, I think 20 grams of this might just evaporate while you're using this. So I'm not sure whether it's actually a better deal, but you definitely do get a lot more product than you do get in any of the powders that I'm featuring here. And that is why I decided to put the RCMA No Color Powder in the number 4 spot. Moving on to the top 3, and a very bougie option that made it into my top 3 is the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. This is again one of those powders that a lot of people rave about, and this is expensive when you buy it in the full size. However, I looked up how much this travel size retails for and how much product you get, and I think it's actually the worst deal. This is an even worse deal than the Laura Mercier. But I didn't really like it. So this travel size is 22 euros, but it only contains 0.9 grams of product. That's right, you only get 1 gram of product, like less than a gram. Like, this is insane. So this is insanely expensive. A full size retails for 47 euros and 50 cents, and it only contains 10 grams of product. So in terms of how much you get from all of these powders, this is the least amount of product. So this is definitely the most money you pay per gram for a powder. But I have to say, I was very impressed. I will definitely be using up this little travel size at some point because, wow, I love the effect that this gave. It looked very glowy, very radiant. It didn't look cakey. I love Hourglass powders to begin with. I have currently the powder I'm using in my day-to-day life is the ambient lighting powder in diffused light. And I am absolutely in love with that powder. It's what I'm wearing as powder today, actually. So yeah, Hourglass powders, man, I love them. And this Veil Translucent Loose Powder is another really great one. Yes, it's expensive, but this is one where I feel that if I use up the mini, I definitely would invest in buying the full size. That's why it's in my top 3 and in the number 3 spot at that, because I have 2 powders that are a lot more affordable that I like even more. In the number 2 spot, I have the instigator of this video. The reason why I wanted to try all these other powders is because I love this. And this is the Catrice Nude Illusion Loose Powder. Now, I do think that of the 7 powders I'm featuring in this video, this is the one that is raved about the least. I feel that this needs a lot more credit. It's in my number 2 spot for a reason. I absolutely love this. This was one of the first loose powders that I've tried, and for the price point, which is $5.59, so 5 euros and 59 cents for 11 grams of product. And you know what? This is my second one of these, you guys. I decluttered my other one because it was a bit old and almost gone. Like, there was only like a little bit left in the very, like if I held it up like this, you could only see a little bit in the bottom. I could barely get this to come out, you guys, which is why I decided to repurchase it and put it up against all of these powders that people love. And yes, it's been dethroned as my favorite ever loose powder, you could say. But when it comes to something I would like go out and buy again, with this being so affordable at just $5.59, it is cheaper than the Maybelline, making this the most affordable option in the entire bunch. Like, what's not to love? But this or this, to me, it looks the same. Yes, this does accentuate a little bit more of the like dry lines under my eyes, I feel, more so than the Hourglass. I think that looks a little bit more flawless, but this looks just as good on the rest of my skin, and it's a fraction of the price point of this one. So why would I even buy a full size of this, even though I am interested in the end? And then the last powder I wanted to feature is my number one, the Too Faced Born This Way loose powder. Now, Too Faced does some really, really lovely face products, I have to say. I really like their Born This Way foundation. I like the regular Born This Way concealer. The multi-use one was a bit drying on me. But one of my favorite like pressed powders is by Too Faced. It's the Primed and Poreless Pressed. So I wanted to try their loose version, and this was amazing. It's easy to use. It's not messy at all like the RCMA and the Coty. Like this packaging, it comes with a sifter that you actually can close off. So this is so cleverly done. And the effect this gives is really, really nice and natural looking. It doesn't look cakey. It makes my makeup look nice throughout the day. It didn't accentuate any dryness or patches or anything like that. It didn't bunch up around my nose. I'm a little bit in love with this one. So that's why the Too Faced Born This Way loose powder in translucent, yes, in translucent, deserves the #1 spot. So I just realized I forgot to say how much the Too Faced is, but it does retail for 32.99 euros for 17 grams of product. I have everything written down here on my little notepad. So yeah, 17 grams of product, so not a whole lot. You definitely get more in the Coty and the RCMA, but this just has much better packaging. So there you have it. Those were the 7 powders that I wanted to feature in this video. This video has definitely been a long time coming because I think I've been mentioning wanting to do this video for more than a year now. So it's definitely taken me some time to get around to doing it. But with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope it was useful to get these comparisons and to know at least which one is my favorite with my dry, dehydrated skin. So please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 videos a week, so I have lots more content coming your way. So I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!